George Frederick Handel, born in 1685 and died in 1759, arrived in London at 26, fresh from successes in Venice and across Italy. And we know that he created his first opera for London, Rinaldo, in 1711, in Italian. Rinaldo was staged at the Queen's Theatre, Haymarket, on the 24th of February, 1711. The libretto, the words of the opera, were written by the manager of the theatre himself, Aaron Hill. It is inspired by an epic novel by Torquato Tasso, La Gerusalemme Liberata, Jerusalem Delivered. That was a bestseller during the Renaissance, and by the beginning of the 18th century, audiences at the opera would have been familiar with this story. The story was somewhat simplified for the opera. Rinaldo, a Christian knight, is in love with Almirena, the daughter of the crusader Goffredo. The Christians are about to launch an attack on Jerusalem, but Almirena is kidnapped by the sorceress Armida. Rinaldo goes to save her.
We're dealing more with ideals, I believe, how a hero confronted by the dangers of temptation, particularly sexual temptation, has to keep himself free in order to fulfill his heroic destiny. We're in the world of archetypes. We're not in a slice of social realism as we are in Poppaea, or as we will be later on with The Marriage of Figaro. So opera can do this. It can move in and out of social drama or social comedy to the world of ideals, and it can do that within the same piece, actually, as well.
Rinaldo was composed in the heyday of the castrato. In the 18th century, the lead male roles were all sung by castrati. The eponymous character was sung in 1711 by an Italian castrato named Niccolini. Castrati were vocally gifted men who had been castrated before puberty to preserve the purity of their voices. The resulting voice, difficult to imagine today, would have had a very wide range, from a tenor to the highest note of a soprano, with the power of the lungs of an adult man. Today, most of the castrato roles are sung either by countertenors, tenors who have a facility for singing in a very, very high falsetto, that kind of voice, or by sopranos and mezzo-sopranos. One of the famous arias of Rinaldo, Venti Turbini, was originally sung by castrato. Now, this aria makes a fantastic finale to Act One. Almirena has been snatched away from Rinaldo, and he is furious, and he asks the winds, the whirlwinds, to give him wings so that he may fly to rescue her. Now, orchestrally, it's as exciting as it is vocally, and it starts with a very, very brilliant introduction. Hear the bassoon? Can you imagine this sung? Unbelievable. And creating this whirlwind, this would have been an incredible number for the singer, what we would call a virtuoso number. And it goes on like this. Venti, turbini, prestate. This kind of interaction between orchestra and voice, creating a type of theater that would have had people on their feet. The singer would be expected to embellish his vocal line. So as I played for you, that sounds complicated to me, actually, but he might have done, and might have just taken it to another level, go to extremes. This is why the people came to the theater. And boy, what a finale to Act One. The famous aria, Lascia ch'io pianga, Almirena singing her distress at being held captive by Armida and the Saracen king Argante, who has fallen in love with her himself, was reused from the opera Almira. Now, this is one of the most gorgeous melodies that Handel ever wrote, and that's saying something because he was a great melodist. It is so effective because of its simplicity. Ch'io pianga, via cruz. da sorte. Now, do you hear those little lifts, those little stops? This will give you an idea of Almirena's state. She's on the verge of tears. She speaks, "Let me weep, my cruel fate." This would have been tremendously effective and would have played upon the heartstrings of the audience. She goes on to say, "I would like to breathe liberty." And the phrase goes higher. Again, stopping. Now that phrase now will be developed further. Now, there is always a B section, in other words, a contrasting section. And here, the orchestra stops, and just the harpsichord and the bass instruments will play along. And she says, "Let my pain break these chains."